Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have Scout Taylor-Compton with us, who is currently starring in Chariot, that is available now on video on demand. Scout, thank you so much for being here with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Man, you don't know how long I've been trying to get you on this show. And to get you on, it is like truly awesome. I am so
Oh,
psyched.
yay.
I am.
Yay. You're so cool. I've had the honor of meeting you in person, so I'm so glad that we could make this work.
Me too. Me too. So let's get right to it. Chariot,
Yeah.
written, directed by Mr. Siegel himself.
Mhm.
Amazing movie. You had the most fascinating role in this movie. So let's just go back a little bit. When you booked the role, okay, what were your feelings of having to play somebody with a dual personality? Did it scare you? Were you excited?
I was excited. I've always wanted to play a character like this. I've always been fascinated with like split personalities. Honestly, the movie Split it's like my dream role to play. So even that I had one, I was very excited about doing it. But it's so interesting. This is just to like kind of so the audience knows. The production designer was a friend of mine on another shoot that I did, and he's like, "You'd be great for this movie that I'm about to do." This guy Adam's directing it, so I literally slid into Adam's DMs, and I was like, "I heard about this movie. I want to be a part of it. It sounds really rad." And then that's kind of how it happened, which is, so you can always do that, guys. If you really are passionate about a project,
Just go after it.
just go after it. And Adam's great. I really love him. But he gave me free range, it was originally written as Oliver being British, but he was like, well, if there's another accent that you like better, like just make Oliver your own. So it was really fun to like play around with that and find Oliver.
As you've seen the interview I did with Adam, and we talked about
Hmm.
you and your brilliant performance as that dual personality, Lauren and Oliver. Um, Now, when you got into the role, uh, you know, you just said he gave you free reign. Was there, when it came to the grumpy British person, Oliver, how did you want him to come through?
I played with it actually. I was like, could he be like, does Oliver like both men and women? Is Oliver just gay? Does he just like, I like played with a lot of different ideas. And I kind of like, I kind of like had both of that in mind. I mean, unfortunately, Oliver is only in a little bit of it. I
Hmm.
wish we saw Oliver a little bit more because I feel like I could have done a lot more with him. But I played with so many different ideas. But I kind of made him like a bisexual, just like angry man that just never gets what he wants, which is sex. So that's kind of what I just went with. I was like, how would I feel like if I was in this position?
What was it like working with Adam behind the camera? You said he gave you a lot of leeway as far as his directing style. Was he fun? Was he very easygoing? Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, Adam is, his writing is brilliant. Every time I read one of his scripts, I'm just blown away with like what can come out of that guy's mind. But he's just such a lax, really super smart director. And I really like that, in a director, like the giving an actor like a playground essentially. And that's really what he did. And when he gives notes, it's more just to add to your what you've already like come up with,
Yeah,
you know. But he's like one of the best directors I've worked with.
that is so cool. Now, the horror
Yeah.
genre has fully embraced you. They love you. You are part of the horror family. And as I told Adam, he gave you this wonderful opportunity to step out of horror for a little bit and do this science fiction movie that I told
Mhm.
Adam was probably going to open up a whole bunch of doors for you. Um,
Oh.
Being, passionate to the core of your fan base, which is horror, and building even more fans, outside of horror. How does that make you feel that Adam gave you this opportunity, the way I explained it to him, to show off your acting chops?
I mean, it's an actor's dream. You know, I respect the horror community. I really do because they're so loyal, you know,
Yeah.
and they'll watch anything that I do, which is really, really great to have that fan base behind me. So I'm very honored that I am in the horror community, but it is a hard genre to kind of break from
Yeah.
because it's all what people see you as. It's like, oh, well, you're a horror actress. It's like, well, actually, I mean, yeah, I can do that, but I can do a lot more. So it was really nice to have that opportunity to not die in something or kill someone, you know?
Or walk away
But even though I
permanently
missed it,
scarred.
exactly.
Now, you have 92 credits, which is phenomenal,
Right.
and you're
Wow.
still so young, but you've got 92 credits to your name. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get into acting? What was your inspiration? And when you first began, who did you look up to? Not somebody you knew, somebody that you admired on the screen.
Yeah, you know, it honestly, I was just kind of one of those kids that was like talk too much, like need like had so much energy, was super hyper. I mean, you probably can tell even by this interview. So my parents were like, and I was constantly always playing dress up or making people watch me do something. So my parents heard about this, like it ended up being a scam, but they ended up hearing about this open casting. You read in front of agents and you get to meet like Mario Lopez. So I went to this thing and I just wanted to meet Mario Lopez. So they gave me a sheet of paper to read and I was like, okay, whatever, this is fun. So I did that and I booked an agent right away.
Wow.
There's no actors, there's nothing, there's nobody in the business in my family. So I don't know where I came from, but
It
I
has to
happened
start
be
somewhere.
born. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's how I started. And I just started right away. You know, like I said, I grew up in a mortuary, so I didn't have a lot of friends, and sets and being around adults, those were like my playground.
Yeah.
That was like my fun time, you know.
Do you remember the first feature film that you did? What was it?
I think I did. So the first feature, what did I do? What was the first feature that I did? I remember more of my TV. Like I used to work with Jay Leno. So every time I never booked Barbie commercials
Yeah.
ever. I was never that happy kid.
Yeah.
I never booked Barbie commercials, but whenever Jay Leno would make spoof on like Barbie commercials, I would come in, Brie Larson would come in, and we would do like chewing tobacco Ken, smoking Barbie, like all these like Temptation Island Barbie. So we do all those spoofs. So that was like my first. I kind of like went into like the TV route from like Ally McBeal, then Gilmore Girls, and then Charmed. It was like kind of like one after the other.
Yeah.
Um,
It was the start of
yeah.
something great. Now, of course, you booked the role of Laurie Strode. Okay, we can't
Yeah.
go an interview without talking about that. In Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween 2007, that just put you on a whole other level when it came to your career. When you went in to audition to be Laurie Strode,
Mhm.
uh, walk us through what you were feeling. I mean, you knew Jamie Lee Curtis was the last one to play Laurie Strode. Obviously, those are big shoes. Did you try to fill those shoes, which is an impossible task, but try to give us a new version of Laurie?
Yeah, well, when I first auditioned, it was the Untitled Rob Zombie project. So I didn't know that it was Halloween. My mom had shown me Halloween when I was a kid. I
Yeah,
mean, mortuary father, mortician father. So that was kind of horror, mortician, kind of like went hand in hand. So I had no idea that it was for Halloween. And once it kind of got to like the next stages and I was meeting Rob and it was like the final testing, did I find out that it was Halloween? And bless my 17-year-old soul that I didn't realize how big of a deal that was. Honestly, if I did know how big of a deal it was, I probably would have freaked myself out. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that I was like so naive and had no idea. I was like, oh, okay, Halloween. Yeah, I'll play babysitter. So thank goodness I had no idea. But then once my name got announced, I had people calling me that I hadn't heard from in years. And it was just blowing up. And I kind of started to get freaked out. And then I started to read what people were saying. And a lot of people were comparing me to the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis. And they kind of were like bashing me already. And I was really freaking out.
Yeah,
and I
that's not
remember
fair. That's not
dude,
fair.
oh my God. And I was 17 too. I was
Yeah.
like, oh no, everybody hates me in the world. But when I went on set, Rob pulled me aside and he was like, hey, he's like, I hired you for your Laurie. Like, don't worry about what they're saying. Like let's kick this, let's kick this out of the park and show them what you can do. And let's make it your Laurie. Don't make it anybody else's.
Exactly.
So luckily I had Rob, in my corner there.
Now, that remake, depending on, I mean, Halloween fans are everywhere. For some of them, that 2007 remake is their favorite Halloween, without a doubt. They
Yeah.
love it, especially the younger generation. They absolutely love it. When you did Halloween in 2000, I'm assuming you filmed it sometime in 2006 or whatever. Did you know that Rob
Mhm.
wanted to make a sequel? Because the rumors are, started swirling that Rob initially just wanted to make that one movie and he didn't want to do a sequel, but because of the success of the 2007 movie, he ultimately did bring you back and make a sequel. What did you know when you were doing the first one?
Oh, I mean, we did not know that there was going to be a sequel at all. We just knew that we honestly didn't know that it was going to be as big of a success as it was, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
at least I didn't. I was super naive at that age, so maybe everybody else did. But I didn't know that there was going to be a sequel, so I was kind of surprised, and I was so happy to do a sequel. But yeah, no, I had no idea when we did the first one.
Now, Laurie Strode, your Laurie Strode, from the first
Mhm.
one to the second one, it's almost like two completely different characters, as you would expect with the
Yeah.
trauma that your character suffered at the hands of Michael Myers. In the
Mhm.
second one, you've become sort of a recluse. You only have a small group of friends. It's a completely different Laurie Strode. So when you walked in to do the second one, how did you change your mindset from what Laurie Strode was in the first one that you did? I mean, you obviously wanted to show a difference.
Yeah, well, I just kind of wanted to, if time had passed and someone going through trauma and witnessing all these people get murdered, I mean, I don't know about somebody that would be okay with that.
No.
Like would be a perfect angel and would like have all their shit together. And I kind
Exactly.
of wanted to show that, like what real PTSD looks like. It's very up and down and like that shit fucks with you. I
Exactly.
mean, it fucks you up. And the dynamic between Danielle and I, like the best friend changed into kind of like sister, but like broken. Like everything was just broken.
Hmm.
And I think that's what Laurie was. She was everything had been taken from her, and everything that she knew was a lie. And I just wanted to show that brokenness. Mind you, one thing that did happen was, the Weinsteins, because of the success of the first one, I know they were driving Rob up the wall with rewrites like almost, it seemed like every week they were changing something,
Yeah.
which wasn't really great for any actor,
Yeah.
to be like, well, we already filmed something and she's losing her shit there, so you can't change this, because if she goes into that situation happy, it's not going to make sense. So there was a
Exactly.
lot of that, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, I my main focus was just to show the damage that Laurie was feeling.
Absolutely. So the Halloween movies came out, and I'm sure that opened up a bunch of doors for you in Hollywood. I'm sure you were auditioning, getting offered to audition. Tell us what happened with your career and how it exploded after the Halloween movies.
Yeah, it's so strange because I feel like it's so different. Like now that I see people, when I watch Blumhouse and I see like a new actress or whatever, I'm like, oh wow, then they'll end up like on a TV show. I kind of, it wasn't like that back then. I just ended up doing like I think right after that um I did April Fool's Day, like
Yeah.
literally right after. The first thing was like a horror thing. And then I did the Love Ranch with Helen Mirren and Joe Pesci, which was a great experience. And then the Runaways. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely opened up so many doors for me. But you would be surprised being in a horror movie. I don't know what it is about Hollywood when they think that you've only been in a horror movie, they have trouble, like we were talking about in the beginning, seeing you as anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And I told you in the beginning, like Love Ranch, I went through 8 auditions to get that role. And then the final meeting was with Joe Pesci. And Joe was just like, let's go talk in the room. Like let's just like have a private conversation about like why you want this. The Runaways, I auditioned for every girl in that role. And I played drums. So I wanted the drummer. And I wrote a letter to the casting director saying, I've got to be in this. I've got to play one of these girls.
Absolutely.
And then they finally called me back in, and it was with Kristen and the producers, and we just kind of wanted to see how our chemistry went. And then they offered me the bass player.
Yeah.
And I didn't know fucking bass. I didn't know how to play bass. But I was like, whatever, man. I was like, okay, let's do it. And they were having trouble finding their Lita Ford, and Joan Jett was there every day during band rehearsal and stuff. And one day I was just jamming out, going crazy. And Joan was like, you play like Lita. And then the next day they were like, do you want to be Lita Ford? Do you know how to play guitar? I'm like, no, but I guess I'm going to learn. It's crazy shit that goes on, behind the scenes.
I totally understand what you're saying about Hollywood entertainment and how they box you in. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what happened with Rob and in the second Halloween. Because of the success, the Hollywood executives, they want you to replicate exactly what you did in the first one. And for a creator, an artist, that's boring, for lack of a better term. You're not allowed to create something new. So I totally get the frustration, and that's what makes what Adam did in casting you in Chariot great, because it allowed you to branch out and show what you're really capable of outside of the horror realm. And that's why I really stressed that with him, and I told him good job for casting Scout, because you were amazing. Now the British accent was really spot on, and not only that, you were doing a man British accent. Do you have any kind of dialect training, voice training on, or did you just learn on the spot?
It's so funny because I don't know why. I should never doubt myself, but I did. I already had that accent. I had it. I was really comfortable with it. And then I was like, maybe I should just go talk to a dialect coach. And then I was thinking, I was like, well, okay, I'm Lauren, and I'm playing this character. So whatever accent, whether it's like authentic or if it's mixed with something or whatever, that's what she would create. So it's not like I'm from, England. So it's not to be like perfect.
Yeah.
So I was just like, it's what this girl would think is a British accent. So I kind of went with it and didn't want to overthink it.
Yeah.
Because then I would just be stressed.
And it worked. It absolutely. I'm going to read you a quick viewer question. Steve wants to know which filmmakers in any genre would you want to work with that you haven't yet?
Oh, God, that list is so long. I mean, Quentin, obviously.
Yeah.
Like Quentin Tarantino, I would love to work with him. I ask Danielle all the time. I'm like, what was it like working with him? I was like, tell me everything. Quentin, and obviously like Steven Spielberg. I'd love to work with them as well.
And how about
not?
No, I was going to ask you, as far as genres go, you've done sci-fi. What else do you want? Are you really interested in doing? Like comedy, rom-coms, drama? What would you like to do in as far as genre work?
I mean, everything, honestly. Like all my friends, like even people that just met me, like the movie that I just did, everyone's like, why aren't you doing comedy? You're like, you're so funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? I'm like, really? I'm like, I can do comedy? I was like, oh, okay. So maybe something like, I feel like that would be such a blast. Like it's such a fun set to be on, like a
Yeah.
comedy would be really rad. My dream thing, man, would probably be like a Resident Evil like
Oh.
franchise. Like I wanna go beat people up. That's what I wanna do. Atomic Blonde style.
Killing some like zombies. Okay, now you have three projects that are in post:
Yes.
The Best Man, Model
Mm-hmm.
House, and Captive.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them are thrillers. One is a straight up horror. Out of those
Mm-hmm.
three, which one are you most excited about coming out? The Best
Oh
Man,
man,
Model
all of
House,
them.
and Captive.
I mean, all of them. I played such different characters, and I mean, one, I'm kidnapping a group of like social media girls, which is so fun to do. The other one, I'm playing a hot, sexy vampire, and then the other one, it's with Luke Wilson. So I'm pretty
Wow.
excited about all of them.
That is so cool that you have all this stuff in the pipes. I mean, now, uh,
Yeah.
even with those movies, in post production, I'm assuming you're out there and you're still auditioning and you're lining up roles every day. That's fair to say, right? Now,
Yes, yes. Auditions always happen.
being in LA, are you native from LA or did you move out to LA to pursue your career?
Yeah, so I grew up in the high desert, so 2 hours outside of Los Angeles. But I had been acting since I was 8, so driving 2 hours back and forth
Yeah,
for like back then auditions were in person. So at 18, I was like, I gotta move to Los Angeles. But
yeah.
now I'm like, I need out of LA. I need to be in a farm town or something. I need horses and donkeys around me.
Get some quietness all around you. Scout, I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much for coming on here and sharing some of your
Oh,
stories.
thank
You're
you.
great. You're really super friendly in person, too. Guys, if there's a convention that Scout is near in your hometown, you got to go out just to meet Scout. She's an amazing person. I got the pleasure of not
Oh.
only meeting Scout, but Tyler Maine, who played Michael
Mhm.
Myers in our Halloween movies. Just one last question. It seems like you and Danielle became good friends. Is that an accurate statement?
Oh yeah, she's gonna be one of my bridesmaids for sure.
That is so cool. Again, thank you
Yeah, I
so
love her.
much to our guest, Scout Taylor-Compton. I want to thank our audience who's tuned in live and those of you who are going to watch later on. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, just so speaking of Danielle, we have a podcast, Talk Scary to Me.
That's
It's on
right, the
Spotify and
podcast. Oh, no,
Apple.
please, please.
Yes.
I didn't mean to gloss over that. I want to hear about that
No way.
podcast.
No.
I want
Yeah,
to.
no, just listen to it.
What's the podcast called?
It's called Talk Scary to Me.
Okay.
If you want to, and send questions in. It's all about sex and love. We give sex and love advice, and then we kind of end it with a true crime like a true crime like overview. So
Okay.
it's really fun, man. If you want to get to know us girls, definitely listen to that.
How long has it been running so far?
I mean, right now we have like 26 episodes in the can, which is insane because it feels like we just started it and it's growing. It's so big and like I said, the horror fans are so loyal. So thank you to everybody that is listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, you've done so much stuff, and the podcast, I knew about it, and it just went completely over my head when we started. Guys, check
Yeah,
out
there's
the
too much
pod.
shit.
Check out Scout and Danielle's podcast. Again, a big thank you to Scout for being on here tonight. Thank you to our audience. Until next time, on behalf of Scout, Taylor-Compton, and myself, stay safe and stay walking. Good night, everybody.